Troy Galloway is a construction manager and consultant, commercial and residential builder, and a certified inspector for all commercial and residential buildings. And now, here is About the House with Troy Galloway.
Well, hello, folks. Welcome back to About the House. I am really tickled to have everybody back with us again, and we have an exciting show today. I appreciate you guys jumping in here and joining with us. We actually, About the House is such a unique radio show. Podcast, you get us on YouTube, you pick us up on our webpage. But why is this show so awesome? Well, it's because it's like a video library or audio library of everything you need to know about your home forever. So anytime you got these questions, you go back and you recheck it out. And we have so much content, and it's just basically it's just everything about the house, from real estate to construction to even renting homes or buying and selling and investing in homes. So that's why we're a little different than all the other companies, not to mention that you can always get to go back. I'm Troy Galloway. I'm the host of this show, just like this radio show About the House, Galloway Building Services. I'm the owner of the company, and we're a unique company also. Yes, we do home and building inspections. So if you're buying and selling a home or you're a commercial building, we're absolutely there for you. But we also do construction inspections. So if you got a problem going on with your house or your commercial building, or you're doing a room addition or building something, you want to make sure it's being done right, you give us a call. Also, we help you out. So if you have any litigation work, your contractor went south on you, didn't get the job done right, then you call us. We go to bat for you. We work with other attorneys. So we've got different specialists that works with us. So as that, I don't know everything, but we know the best in the community. And you can check them out on our radio show, too. We also help you. So if you have any kind of, if you're a contractor, per se, and you have trouble with your customer. So, it happens all the time. Customer says, hey, this job's not done right. You give us a call. We're here for you. And normally when we get done, the customers know as we're a non-biased company. We don't have a dog in this fight. We're only here just to black and white, to call it as it is. And so just our motto of our company is that we make sure the job's done right. You're getting what you paid for, and you're not getting ripped off. And that's Galloway Building Services. And give us a call. The office number is 636-394-3112. My personal cell phone number, now don't pass this out to nobody. I want this private, but my personal cell phone number, if you need to reach me personally, you got a problem you want to get onto right away, 314-520-6655. So anyway, folks, we have a great show coming here today. I know many of you guys already know Rue Moonyos. Sorry, I have such a hard time pronouncing that last name. Please forgive me, Rue. Of Sharpshooting Painting. You'll see him that he's been with us on our radio show about a year and a half ago. He came on with us, and we finally got him talked in to come back. And what we want to specialize in here today, is Rue's going to help us out, is getting ready for the fall and early winter, trying to get things prepped. That's kind of where we're headed right now. And there's a lot of things you want to get ready to get done. And I know Rue is just absolutely slammed, so we appreciate you coming out here with us, Rue. Jump in here. Tell the folks a little bit about yourself again and reintroduce yourself. And he's a real painter because he got paint all over his hands. So. Jump in here, Rue. Introduce yourself, buddy.
Hey, Troy. Again, thank you so much for having me out. It's always a great time, get a couple jarheads around each other, and well, you never know where it can go, right?
Oh, yeah. I hope the MPs ain't around.
Right? Well, again, like Troy stated, I am one of the working partners over at Sharpshooters Painting. We consist of a couple of journeyman level, and then we also have a gentleman that is new to the group, and he's in process of becoming a journeyman himself. He has some prior experience from his time when he was in college. He was working with a painting company down in Texas. So we're breaking him of some bad habits. And,
you know how them Texans are.
Yeah. Just teaching them some better processes and, that kind of deal. And, ultimately with the whole painting, like any other trade, there's a process to the madness. Everything got to kind of look a little bit ugly before it gets pretty, and there's no difference in painting. With that, we're going to cover some processes today and things to look out for, because it's so many times I hear homeowners that are clients of ours, they're like, oh, well, I've never had a painter do that. Why are you doing that? And well, this is the actual process for it. So I always try to explain processes to any of my clients whenever we come out and do an estimate as well.
Well, and I think that's important, because I teach a class at the college, and how to be a general contractor, also how to do inspections. But in my last class, man, I just hammered the idea of communication.
Right.
And so when you're doing that, that's the number one thing. People, they just need to know, and they got to know why. Why you cost this much, why the guy out of his back of his pickup truck is so much cheaper, and what they're paying for. They don't know.
And right there, just in that little bit of description like you just gave there, right? A lot of people don't understand. There's a lot of people right now that have worked in the trades due to COVID are out of work. So they're throwing out prices that they don't really know. They're just looking at it as, well, this is what I would roughly get on a week of paycheck, so this is what I'll charge. And they're not taking into consideration that, us as a small company, well, we have taxes, we have insurances, we have a numerous amount of other expenses, not to mention equipment, right? Because we're not just rolling around as a roller and a brush. We have sprayers, and those all receive maintenance annually. We have multiple vehicles. We have multiple different ladders, scaffolding. I mean, there's a number, how it goes. Every craftsperson out there has tons and tons of tools that we don't use on every job, but we have every tool for the right job at the right time.
So we are getting ready to get into the fall season.
Yes.
And so that's kind of what I wanted to kind of talk a little bit about, as we discussed before. And so, let's start on the exterior. Some of the things that you would recommend that we do, and some of the time frame, because I know winter time also, too, is a crazy time where sometimes it's too cold. And so, and I know you're booked up, and I know all the great painters are booked, but if nothing else, the folks can maybe get you scheduled for,
Absolutely.
later in the year or whatever. But what are we looking for that you would recommend
so
on the outside first?
Yes, absolutely. Exterior is probably the most important thing to kind of tackle right now, leading into winter, because everybody knows here in St. Louis, we can have all 4 seasons in one day.
Yeah, boy.
We all know that. So again, going into fall, going into winter, it's really God's choice on what we deal with on weather, right? So we might have this week where we're looking at 70s and 80s, right? Minimal rain. This would be a great week to knock out a whole bunch of exterior jobs. Even if you're wanting to do it yourself, that's not a problem. You are just restricted to the weather. So a few things you want to know about getting anything done, whether it's staining or painting. You don't want any less than 48 hours of non-freezing night temperature. And that's to allow your paint or stain to fully cure without damaging the chemical aspect of it, so that way it actually cures. And when I say cure, so most people think you put on paint or stain and, it's dry to the touch, it's done drying. Well, that's all just the top coat film that is dry. You still have mils upon mils of moisture underneath that still need to gas out. And gas out means the moisture evaporating and actually all the solids that are in the paint or the stain actually hardening. So that way it bonds to whatever you painted or stained. So whether it be a deck, whether it be siding, whether it be a door, window casing, whatever it may be. There's usually on the exterior during the fall, winter time, you want about at least 48 hours of non-overnight freezing temps. Unless you want to pay for below zero rated paint and stain, which doesn't last as long.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about
so
that.
Yeah, so they do have some products for that, but it's very, very expensive. So you'd almost spend 4 to 5 times the amount on materials than what you would with standard paint and stain.
Mm-hmm. So now non-freezing, of course, that's 32 degrees.
Yes, sir.
would you prefer it to be like not below 30? I mean, okay, 32, but would you prefer to see 40? Would that be? I mean, is it a little bit better, warmer the evenings? Would that be better for the curing?
Absolutely. So the warmer it is, and the less humidity, moisture in the air, the better of a surface temperature you're going to have. So my rule of thumb is we don't put anything on unless it's 55 degrees during the day, and we don't put anything on if we're showing that it's going to hit freezing at night. For the next 2 days. That's my rule of thumb. There's plenty of painters out there that will challenge that.
Yeah.
Not saying that they're right, not saying that they're wrong, not saying I'm right or wrong, but I do a guarantee warranty for life of materials. And I am able to do so because my vendors will back me up on that guarantee warranty because they know I'll go through the proper processes and not push the envelope.
Well, as a builder, home builder, commercial builder, and I know why the guys have to. They're out there painting, and they don't care. They have to get the job done. They have to get the checks in the bank. There's a big companies behind it. But you can always tell to come next spring when it starts to peel.
Oh, absolutely.
And then I always get the calls, because I'm the builder. They don't call the painter.
Nope.
And they say, well, this is coming off. You did a crap
Good
job.
job.
Well, yeah, so as a custom, we can get away with we don't have to do it because we're custom. We just talk to the people and let them know, and then let them know if they have to have it painted. Maybe we could come back or something else come back in the spring, as long as their heads up on it. But I don't even want to do that because I don't want to have to come back. And nobody wants to have to come back. But sometimes I know we don't have no choice. But now that's decks, that's painting and
staining.
And staining.
Yes.
And so like on our decks, you call that staining, right?
So there's different levels of staining on decks. So you got everything from transparent to semi-transparent, to semi-solid, to solid body stain. So once you get into your solid body stain, it really goes on like a paint, but it has stain applications to it. So you'll get the same colors of your stain, except it's going to go on like paint and not really going to see a whole bunch of wood grain. But it's going to build up and stay onto the wood like a stain would versus a paint. So you technically don't have to primer because it's really a stain base. But that's one of those things if, again, in the future, on a solid body stain on decks here in the St. Louis area, you're looking at about a 3 to 5 year before it starts to fail. So you can get away with minimal maintenance, unlike you can with a transparent stain.
I see a lot of that when we do home inspections. And as soon as I see that, you call it a full body stain. As soon as I see that, honestly, if you're selling your house, it really does a great job of hiding imperfections, rotted wood, etc. But as soon as I see it, I realize that you're probably trying to hide something. And as soon as you do that, if it's if the inspector, which most of them don't have a clue, but you really want to start drilling deeper. So don't try to hide anything. No. Try to do it because you're trying to do a quality job to sell to the people. Because once you get caught hiding, well, then we're going to be looking all the way through. Now, I see that you are a Broad Dugan guy. I was trying to be on, but I couldn't get it out because Sherwin-Williams is Broad Dugan now.
I used to be hey, I'm a Sherwin-Williams painter. You can go and get the other colors. We'll do Sherwin-Williams product, right? I've learned to pull back a little bit on that because at the end of the day, I don't mark up paint. I don't mark up stain. I don't sell paint. I don't sell stain. I sell the labor, right? Now, I have my preference of paints and stains. Absolutely. Every painter that's a painter worth their salt has their preference. I don't know if y'all caught that, but anyways.
That's good.
Now, I would always suggest this as a homeowner, right? Because a lot of homeowners will tend to listen to this. Don't get all your paints and stains from Home Depot. And if you do, make sure it's the most expensive stuff they got there.
Well, that's some. Let me throw this in here, folks. This is my preference or what I see. Just stay out of that paint department. Them guys don't know what the heck they're doing. I got to watch my language because the FCC, but the painters down there don't know what they're doing. You probably learn more from the people in the aisle than you will work. And the material, is less than desirable to be most polite.
Absolutely. And you know, I was trying to be a little nicer on that end, you know, but it really is. I get a lot of people always ask me, oh, well, paint's paint. Well, that's just like saying a painter's a painter.
Yeah.
You know, there's a lot of different segments of being a painter, right? You got your fine finish guys, you got your apartment painters, you got high-end painters that are doing high-end stain, multi-million-dollar homes and that kind of deal. And then, you know, you don't want to get an apartment painter in a multi-million-dollar home because the level of quality is not going to be there. The patience to go and do multiple steps is not going to be there. Just like you don't want to put $1 million house painter in an apartment complex because he's not going to make any money. He's not going to be up to speed for mass production.
Right.
So again, there's different levels of painters, right? But there's also industrial. I forgot to mention industrial. Industrial is a whole nother level of painting that, you know, you're dealing with sand blasting and metal blasting and glass blasting. Just a whole bunch of stuff. But anyhow, let me rewind a little bit. Speaking on paints, I always advise homeowners, you know, maybe you can't afford a painter, and that's fine. Give me a call. Ask me questions. I'll tell you which products you need to get. Or I'll tell you what store to go to here in the St. Louis area between either Sherwin-Williams or Benjamin Moore store. And the Benjamin Moore store that I deal with is Flanagan Paint Store. They're a locally owned company.
They're a great company, folks.
I'm glad you know.
Of course, I love Sherwin-Williams, too. And the old they bought out Broad Dugan for some of you older fellas out there. But, both of them, Flanagan's I love them. Personally, because I'm not a painter. Lord knows I'm not a painter. I got to tell the painting story here on that one. But because they can help me, and they're knowledgeable. Remember what I said about the Home Depot folks?
Absolutely.
You know, they don't know, but down there they will. And a good paint store will guide you into what you need to do.
Absolutely.
Well,
Absolutely.
I got to tell a real quick story about myself. So about me not being a painter, I'm a little colorblind, and so my boss asked me, long time ago. He said, Troy, would you mind staying and painting this bathroom? And this was a great fella. He was also a Marine, Okinawa. Oh. I think he was first or second wave. God only knows how he was still here. But anyway, a wonderful old man. And he said, would you mind staying? So I stayed. And the next morning when I got to, and I painted, I did a first-class job, I thought. Well, I get there the next morning, and I see that old man in there. He's just painting away, trying to get it done before I get there. I got to work early, like you're supposed to do. And I said, what happened, Bill? He said, you wasn't kidding. You're not no painter. So I don't care, how good you think you are. If you're a painter is a painter. And just because you got laid off from Chrysler, don't make you a painter.
Absolutely. Absolutely. But yeah, so again, I got preference of Sherwin-Williams stores that I deal with as well. You know, if any of y'all in the North County area, that Sherwin-Williams, all their staff was very, very helpful as well. You don't get that at all the Sherwin-Williams stores either. So just FYI, there's only a few that have some really knowledgeable individuals. So
while we're still on the exterior here, I want to touch base about, which is a big one for energy conservation, period, from water moisture, is caulking.
Yes.
Now, is there a temperature? I know you guys got a caulk. Talk to us a little bit what the temperature is, if it's the same as painting, but also
great question.
What can be painted and what cannot be painted? Because we've all been caught. Well, maybe we're not all, but you don't want to be caught on a paint that's not paintable, or caulking that's not paintable. Help us out here.
Damn tile guys.
Yeah.
I'm joking. I'm not, but I'm joking. So absolutely. So, you know, typically your silicone caulks are non-paintable. That are just straight water protective caulks. That's what they're really geared for. In most cases aren't. Now there are some silicone hybrid caulks nowadays that are paintable. Typically interior, not so much exterior. So most of the caulks I get from Sherwin-Williams are paintable. There's just a couple that aren't, and those usually come tinted already. Okay. And those are just for very specific scenarios, usually dealing around with like tubs and that kind of deal. Pretty much any caulk you can get at Sherwin-Williams or Flanagan, again, are paintable. Now, same process with paint. is about the same process with caulk. Any paintable caulk is rated to be within the same temperatures. All caulks that I've gotten that I typically get and use on a daily basis are interior exterior caulks and rated up to 55 years. Most painting companies just really get the cheapest caulk, and most of those caulks are really only rated for 5-10 years. And that's just because they're saving $1 or $2.
Now, I tell folks all the time, if you're flipping the house, okay, maybe you don't care if it lasts for a year or two. But, folks, nobody wants to go back out there and do it again.
Absolutely.
I always preach, get the quality caulk. Ultimately, it will save you a ton of money. Now, I used to, and I don't know that it's still out there, Rue, but it used to be a caulk called Volcom caulking, and I had the oatmeal I love the oatmeal texture. What that was, a granular texture. It was paintable. Like I said, I don't know that it's still out there anymore or not. But folks, it was such a great caulking that when your wood shrunk on a new home, it would literally pull the skin off the wood. It was just that. I have caulking, honestly, that's on our office. That's 20 years old. And
Nice.
Still holding tight. But anything that's really good, we got to take it off. We can't keep it. We got to find a problem with it.
Oh, absolutely. Oh, it's starting to fray a little bit over here. Let me go and scrape it out and redo it.
So that leads me to my next exterior question. Then we'll get back into interior because I know we're kind of time limited. But so we hear that one it's called Rhino Shield.
Rhino Shield. Mm-hmm.
What in the world is this Rhino Shield? Do you do it, or is it a franchise?
As far as I understand, it is kind of like a franchise-owned thing that you're going to get it from certain franchise holders. Mm-hmm. But essentially what it is, it's kind of like a plastic base, almost like your spray liners kind of deal. So it's supposed to be kind of rubberized plastic kind of deal. I have yet to see any real surface with it on longevity.
I haven't either.
So I really can't speak on it beyond just the little bits that I know about it. I looked into it at one point, but I was like, it's my client base isn't really going to spend that.
It's expensive.
For a potential of, hey, it should last a lifetime. Mm-hmm. But we all know what the term lifetime means.
Right, read the fine print.
Yep. Again, it's just one of those things. I have yet to see anything long-term with that. But initially looking at some of the jobs that had it on it, it looks great. It looks like it would hold up a very long time. But time is the test.
Let me ask you then now I get asked this a lot about the vinyl siding. Now, our vinyl sidings have a tendency to fade, chalk, and such. So, and I've seen people try to paint it. Talk to me. Tell us about that. Is this something we can do?
Yes.
Should do or not do?
So yes. So I would say about 10 years ago, I wouldn't advise painting vinyl siding. Period. Mm-hmm. Because the formulas weren't there yet.
I see.
Today's market, absolutely, you can paint vinyl. This is the downside of painting vinyl. It runs along the borderline of almost costing the same amount to do it right as replacing some cheaper vinyl now. So that's where it comes into play. If you're a flipper or something, you're probably just going to replace the vinyl. Mm-hmm. Because it's going to run you about the same as far as the paint, and it's going to go a lot faster, right? Because it's one day pop off, one day pop on, they're out of there. Whereas with the painting, it's a process. First off, come out, properly wash, not just rinse off with water. Mm-hmm. Properly wash with something like a simple green or an exterior rated wash for vinyl to degrease, degrime, and get all the mildew, mold, and all that kind of stuff off, right? And then what you want to do, is basically like painting. In some cases, if you have severe chalking, I always advise.
Chalking. Explain to the folks. Okay. I know what it is, but explain to the folks what that means.
So chalking is where the material is actually starting to break down. The outer coating layer that was made for the protective layer starts breaking down. So if you ever rub your hand across an exterior surface and then look at your hand, regardless of whatever color it is, your hand turns white.
Uh-huh.
It's showing that it's chalking. So basically the outer thin covering of the vinyl or wood siding or whatever is starting to break down, and that's what that chalking is. So it was a component that they put into the surface to help be self-clean, self-maintenance. Once that is starting to break down, is no longer working properly, that's where the chalking effect comes into.
Now, if we paint it, because this is another question
Yes.
We get asked a lot, and you know how vinyl is it's an organic material, so it has a tendency to mold really bad.
Right.
As on north sides of the house, and said, can we get any kind of a paint that actually would encapsulate that? I mean, is there something that'll stop it from molding?
So slow it down, yes. Stopping, not so much, because moisture and collectiveness of the right temperatures and everything else is what spawns this little growth. But that's where the priming comes into effect. So what we do is make sure we prime in and seal in the surface. And then that's the catalyst for the top coat, right? So any exterior paint can be added for formula for vinyl to accept the color, to adhere and bond properly. And that's the biggest thing, is making sure the bonding is there. Now, not every vinyl needs to be primered. Some vinyl, as long as it cleans up really good, you can come on with the top coat. Every time anybody paints anything that's a top coat, it should always be 2 coats. I don't care if it says cover in 1 coat or not. It should always be 2 coats, and there's a reason for that. That's exterior or interior. On walls, you're going to get the longer lasting color, for 1. And 2 is the durability of cleaning and non-fading. If anybody's just doing 1 coat, they're not giving you the value that you expect for your home.
I was going to ask you about the fading, and I was going to jump back here too. So folks, you probably wonder, why would I paint my vinyl siding? You said mold, okay. But you also, on the cheaper vinyls, we have troubles with it fading so badly. And so with that being said, does the paint, when you paint vinyl siding, does it fade also?
So all exterior paints have typically, here in the St. Louis area, about a 5 to 7 year range when you get into your higher end paints. So when you're getting into your super paints, duration, and emerald. On exterior, I typically will do a super paint. Super paint is one of those medium level paints that is a little bit more affordable. Not everybody can afford a high end paint, but super paint does a really good job as far as holding up and having durability without having that real hardening aspect to it, like duration or emerald from Sherwin-Williams.
Now, we talked about vinyl, and of course there's these other products out there, and unfinished, like our cement boards or hardy type boards. But the finished boards, I know that some of these brands are supposed to be forever, but they fade and they have problems. Can we treat them the same way? Can we paint them if we need to? Because a lot of times there's material still great shape.
Yeah. Oh yeah. No, we do it all the time. So. Hardy board is one of those things, especially that it gets real delicate, right? Over the years. So instead of doing an actual power wash, you want to do a soft wash. Soft wash is a lot less pressure directly, but it still does a good washing effect. So it doesn't damage the top side of the hardy board. Any surface on the exterior that's raw, that means down past whatever coating was on top, always want to do a primer. Just to seal up the pores again, to hold back any mildew, mold growth, deter plants from growing and trying to dig into the pores on their roots. You always want to seal it up with a good exterior primer. I prefer using oil primer on the exterior.
You said that last time too. Yeah, right.
It holds up very, very well, and it bonds really well with the top coat.
Oh, now, do you do much of any sealing of brick or driveways? Is this something that your company does?
So we do. We just don't do a lot of it. Just because, again, our schedule kind of gets booked out, and there's a lot of people out there that are concrete guys and masonry guys that will come out and do that a lot quicker than we would, because they're able to kind of fit that in a little easier into their schedule than ours. But yeah.
I'm kind of disappointed that we don't promote that more. When I was a young carpenter, I was out with a brick mason, a bricklayer, and he said, and he said, I recommend every brick job to always be sealed. He said, you seal this brick and you will never have it'll last. You never have any tuck pointing issues ever again. And actually, St. Louis Brick Company, who was out here with us, was on our radio show. By the way, great company. First class all the way, but they too recommended that same thing. Cheap plug, but and by the way, they didn't even pay for it. I'm saying this out of my own heart,
right? Well, and that speaks on their process, right?
Yeah,
the proper process.
Yeah, and they're like yourself. They take their time to do it right the first time. And that's so important. So we kind of talked a lot about going outside because, and I know that by the time this show airs and people are listening, go ahead, please. You got something?
Never caulk the channels of your siding.
Right. Now, explain to him the channels.
So channels is where your siding hooks into each other, whether it be on the side, keeping the sides in, or whether it's from each level hooking into the next piece to keep them all onto your wall. Those are supposed to be able to expand and shrink. And if you caulk them in, you're trapping in moisture. You're trapping in a whole bunch of the expansion and contraction that it needs to do because your house. Everybody doesn't understand this. Your house is living. It grows and shrinks daily.
Well, in vinyl siding, it moves up to an inch or more.
It's huge.
And actually, we're going to be doing a show on vinyl siding
here
sometime, or all sidings, all the different sidings products out there. So this is a great lead into that in the future. But absolutely. And they don't realize that vinyl siding, the little weep holes and the movement of them. But it's supposed to, if you really want to, folks, if you really don't, when you don't want this, you don't want moisture, you don't want air coming through. This is what the wrap on the outside is, or the type of, remember we talked about engineered lumber and the different types of materials out there and the coatings and such. That's what you want. That's not the painter's job. But if you're waiting for the painter to do that for you, you're out of luck. It's not happening.
It's not going to happen.
Yeah. Oh, now this is the crazy time. I know we're in October. It's a crazy time for you. Everybody wants you in there before the holidays.
Absolutely.
So what should we be looking for? What are the folks looking for? What kind of work are they doing on the inside other than just, throwing up some paint? Tell us how to get ready, what we look for.
So absolutely. So in interior work leading up to the holidays, right? Most people, and I'm projecting here, I don't know if this is how it's going to go this year or not, just because with the whole COVID restrictions and such. I really think now that traveling channels are open, that a lot of families are going to be traveling to go visit other people in different states. I really believe that.
I believe that too.
Just because everybody's vacations got robbed from them, essentially. But anyhow, so a lot of people typically, whenever they have us doing work for them over the holiday period, right, leading up to Thanksgiving, leading up to Christmas, is usually the areas where everybody's going to visit is going to be in, right? The hall bath, the hallway, the main living room area, dining room, kitchens. So the main area where everybody that comes over and visit is going to see, right? Let's change it up. Let's make it all pretty for our family and friends that are coming in for the holidays. So which is great. And also the cabinets. That's a kind of a big deal for us right now because we're starting to build a cabinet division. That's our goal for us.
We'll talk about that later, so that'd be great. So I want to talk about painting cabinets before you leave out of here today because I know we're short, but that's a big one. And main thing I tell everybody is to schedule, expect for a week of chaos. But more importantly, start calling around to any painting contractor that you can be trusted in your home. And that's a big one for me is you need to be able to trust the contractors that are in your home, especially leading up into the holidays. You have a lot of money sitting around under the tree. You have a lot of fancy things out for upcoming guests. Last thing you want to do is have somebody that unsavory character in your home doing work and planning on something to come back. So make sure you can trust the person you're allowing in your home. Just don't go off of price. Go off of way more than that. Professionalism, process, and trustability. Yeah, and folks, I do recommend that you call So they do for referrals. And this is, and so I teach this in my class, how to be a general contractor to promote this. But don't just get, so they ask you for referrals. Folks, there ain't a soul in this world that's going to give you a person that's a bad referral. They're not going to do it. But, so I recommend give, the general contractor gives some, but also reach out and ask, hey, can I have the last 5 jobs you've done? And their phone numbers and contact. Customers will love to help you. If you did a good job, they will do anything in the world to help you, and this way, Rue's talking about trustworthiness. They're going to be able to tell you what their experience is because it's still fresh on their mind. And if they're not happy, they're ticked off. It ain't going to go away.
I can say that too.
Yeah. So, and if the contractors had any trouble with them, and say, here's one of the last 5 that we did. Now they had some issues, but talk to them and just know. But hey, and everybody's on the level, and it makes it so as that's a great way of being trustworthy. Better Business Bureau is a way of doing it, but Better Business. I'm gonna get in trouble. But you know what it takes to be an A+, and I know Rue, but
money.
Yeah, that's it. You want to be an A+, I'm A+. You know how come I'm A+ versus A? Because I pay extra money to the Better Business Bureau. I don't have any complaints. Praise God. And I try, but still, that's the only difference. So, so that's not the best form of doing it, of getting that. Talk to people, and check their Google reviews. That's a great way too. So, that's just ideas, Google reviews, and, people are bluntly honest, but, it's a great way. But anyway, so cabinetry. We'll stay on walls first, then we'll bounce over to cabinetry. So what we see now is we're getting some more of these worshipables, and you talked about this a little bit about the last show.
Absolutely.
And some of the different types of sheens, is that right?
Absolutely.
Kind of guide us on these.
So it used to be you never get a flat paint because you can't clean it, right? Once it gets marked up, it gets stained.
Except for the ceiling.
Except for the ceiling, right? Who cares about the ceiling?
You're not touching it.
Yeah.
Well, I suppose.
You're like, but no. Nowadays, there's so many paints, especially with the Benjamin Moore line and the Sherwin-Williams line, that you can actually go into a flat, in a kitchen, in a bathroom, and it'd be cleanable. It'd be moisture. I'm about to say a word that probably sounds wrong. Moisture
retardant.
Okay. I was gonna say moisture retardant.
Not moisture proof, but retardant.
Retardant, correct. Which before, it had to be what? Eggshell or better on sheen in order to do any of those things, especially in those 2 rooms. Now you can actually have a flat.
Well, explain to them why they would want the flat. I know why.
Oh, okay.
And I also explain the naps and what it is and
Absolutely.
why the different naps, because I think that's important.
It is. And that's a huge importance. So going back to a flat. So the thing about a flat, it's very forgiving on your walls. So a lot of homeowners do improper nail hole fills, right? Mm-hmm. You don't really tell until you put that first coat of new paint on. And then it's like, oh, crap.
Oh, yeah.
Why? Oh, they had all the pictures on all this wall, because it was improper nail hole fill. So, and I always cover stuff like that on our my live pages and stuff on proper process and how to hide those better. But flats is very forgiving. It makes the walls look really great. It doesn't reflect a lot of light either, so you don't get this. I got the sun glaring off the wall at me with all these new LED lights, right? So flat is a very forgiving paint. It looks high end, and it looks a lot newer. It really does. When you get into flat paint, the wall looks great.
Well, personally, I love the flat paint. That's my opinion, but I like the flat paint and a semi-gloss trim.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
For the contrast.
Get that contrast.
That just so. Of course, I am not a drywall taper. I can get around pretty good, but I'm not, and you can tell.
You'll see all the imperfections with any kind of sheen, and that's all the sheen is. Sheen is taking the light and is reflecting light, which also casts shadows if anything's improper on the drywall, or if you have textured walls. That's a big one too. Textured walls with any kind of sheen on it really shows a lot of shadows.
We just don't see a lot of texture walls around here, but you get down Lake of the Ozarks and some of the other areas, and that's really popular.
We just did a whole house out in Godfrey where we skim coated it, and it's basically a level 5 wall from heavy orange peel, like down.
Now you call it level 5. Explain to folks what that means.
So a level 5 essentially is as straight as you're gonna get. I'm trying to be nice to the drywallers here and framers, is about as flat as you're going to get to the point that any of the framers or drywallers previously did. And I say that because I've seen some walls that literally looks like a snake. And so as a painter, our job is to make framers and drywallers look like what they ain't.
Yeah, that's always that. A little putty, a little paint makes a carpenter what he ain't.
Yeah, that's it.
And if you're a builder out there, these are the guys you kiss up to, because at the very end, they're making your job look good. So, yeah, absolutely. That's why I'm now tapers. Well, okay.
Yeah, that's another story.
We're picking on them now.
But yeah, no. I always tell people like this: we can use tape to make a straight line, right? Mm-hmm. But our job as a painter, in my opinion, hold on, let me phrase that. In my opinion, we create lines that give that faux appearance of straight. Because the thing about it is, if you have a waving wall, it doesn't matter how straight the line is on that wall. From a distance, it looks like the paint curves in and out, because the wall curves in and out. So I always try to, when I get that scenario, I try to create a line up on the ceiling and down on the trim. So from a distance looking straight on, it still looks like a straight wall. But that's just a matter of opinion.
Yeah, well, no, I agree, because that's one of the things we get called on. But talk about naps a little bit,
so,
what it is, and the difference and why.
Sure. So you got a lot of different naps. You got everything from a 1/4 inch.
Explain to them what it is. Because a lot of folks really don't know.
Okay. So there's a roller frame. Most people just call that a roller. And then there's your roller nap, which actually that's where the paint adheres to when you put it up onto the wall. That you put on the roller cover onto the rolling frame. Usually 9-inch. That's what most people are accustomed to, 9-inch, or you have a little small one for doing little small projects like a 4-inch and that kind of deal. So on the material that's on the cover portion, that's called the nap. And there's a lot of different kinds of those too. You got woven, you got microfiber, you have lamb's wool, you have oh my gosh, there's so many different ones. Those are the ones I use most of the time.
You're right.
So forgive me.
They're the only ones I know of.
But there's a few others as well. But again, also with the nap, so you also have and use each of those naps in different scenarios. So going from like level 5 finished walls, you want to use like a microfiber or something equivalent to a microfiber to get a really flat finish, regardless of the paint sheen. It just gives it on there. So what you'll get off of naps, depending on the size of the naps, is the amount of stipple and how tight the stipple is. And when I say stipple, most people don't know what that means. It's that little bumpy look that you see on your walls that's not quite texture, but it's not drywall either. That's the stipple of the paint that came off the nap and that the nap created. So good painters and great painters will apply, and then they'll roll off all in the same direction. So that way it's an even finish and it's the same stipple all the way across after they back roll. So they'll do the application on first, a little heavier. And then once they get as much of the paint out of the nap on there from applying, then we do a process called back rolling. So then we go back over what we applied, so we can have a smooth transitional finish.
Now, an old painter told me, he said that he'd like to use on poor construction walls, he'd like to use a 3/4 inch nap. What do you think of that?
So the higher the nap you go into, it's really for dealing with heavier textured walls or even like sand finish walls. I mean, I know we've seen that in older homes that still has sand swirl and texture on the walls. 3/4 inch is about as the biggest you want to go on anything interior, exterior, and it's just for heavily textured walls.
All righty. Well, hey, I wanted to throw a quick plug in. Rue's going to be doing with one of our construction training courses. He's going to be doing some a good beginner class on how to paint. Great for you folks that try to do it yourself. And Rue, give him your phone number, how to reach best out to you.
Again, Troy, appreciate all the opportunities that you've given me. Again, Sharpshooters Painting. You can find us on Facebook, Instagram, and we just launched YouTube. Haven't got anything up on there yet.
Well, you have one now.
So we will. But Sharpshooters Painting, you can find us on all those platforms that way. Contact phone number is 314-570-9369. Voicemail, go ahead and leave behind Easiest way would be either through the Facebook business page, Sharpshooters Painting with an S. And we have our logo is a target with a paintbrush right in the middle. Can't miss it.
Well, and my name's Troy Galloway. I'm your humble host and Galloway Building Services. We appreciate you folks listening to our radio show. Call us, either one, either Rue or myself. All this information is going to be out here for you. Touch base with us. We're here to help you. And we thank you for the opportunity to listen. Thank you, Rue. And we'll have to have you again, brother.
Thank you, Troy. Appreciate you.
Simplify,
Hoorah.
Sponsored by Troy Galloway and Galloway Building Services, your top choice for professional home inspections in the St. Louis area. GallowayBuildingServices.com.